So it looks like it's just the three of us. I haven't seen anybody else jump on yet.
No, I had sent it, as I said, Mark, Carrie, Chris, you, me were the ones that I sent the invitations to.
Yeah. And Bob is not able to.
Bob, he declined it.
Yeah, yeah. I know he wasn't sure he could even attend because he works for the U.S. Census, so.
Yeah.
And I have not gotten an email from Carrie at all. She didn't respond, so I'm not sure. And Mark, I thought he might be on, but. Anyways, we can go ahead and get going. So roll call is Chris Johnson, and Kathy Downs is here, and Sue Lassard. And then we have members missing is Carrie Zimmerman, Mark Eastman, and Robert Briggs. So I guess we could start off by the update on the cemetery, the old Methodist Church Cemetery. And
yes, I had reached out to the current owners, the heirs, and asked for permission to do the initial minor clearing that was to be necessary in order to do the ground penetrating radar, and that was declined. They have closing on the property in the first half of September, and they indicated that the contract required that the property be in the same condition as it was when the buyer looked at it, which would not have been the case if the town had done any kind of work on it, clearing, etc. I reached out to the town's attorney to ask about this, and he indicated that the town had the right to access the property, but agreed with the idea that it would be better to wait until the new owners were in place than to get into a tug of war with owners that are not going to be the owner for very much longer. So once that sale has taken place, we will be reaching out to the new owners to get that work done. We'd like to get that done this fall so that we can have the information necessary to get this done by spring. So that's where that one stands, and we're just waiting for that sale to go through rather than get into a legal wrangle with owners who aren't going to be owners for very much longer.
So right now, as I see it, we're just kind of at a standstill until after the property's been sold. And then we can reach out to the new owners and talk with them about moving forward. And that might not happen now until even spring.
Well, if the property closes mid-September, we'll have that information. We can reach out to them by the beginning of October at the latest. There's still time to do this, assessment, which is a critical part of what we're doing in order to determine if we're in the right place.
Okay. So on that further note,
at the very least, we should be able to get that done, that assessment and the return, and if it's the correct, then the clearing needed to be ready to do fencing, etc. in the spring.
Okay, that sounds good.
So we'll get the assessment done and the clearing. The assessment involves what now? When we talk about assessment, what are we talking about?
The assessment is the use of the ground penetrating radar to determine if we're in the right location for where the cemetery would have been. There's a lot of guesses, but that would be a way to make sure that if we're going to fence an area and memorialize and put gravestones back, that we're in the right place to do that.
Okay.
So,
All right, thank you.
Do you have any other questions, Chris? Are you happy with the?
No, I'm just curious. The only other thing that I have a question about is an old question, which is the budget for this. We have a $10,000 budget line, is my understanding. Is that correct? Okay. Do we anticipate the assessment will go over that amount? Should we? Okay.
no, we assessed a very large area for the solar array at the treatment plant, and that was $4,500
Okay.
for that assessment. And this area won't be, that we're doing, is not going to be that large.
Okay. And as far as the fencing, is the fencing budgeted for in this coming year, or is that, will that be next year?
$10,000 is to get us going. I think that before we complete this, we will have to have more of an appropriation in next year's budget.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. We were going to discuss other town-owned cemeteries, and if I'm correct, I believe there's 16 of them that I counted. I looked. Yeah.
Okay.
They're scattered all over.
Right.
And I'm not sure how we want to do this. If we want to, some of them are already being taken care of by the town. They've been mowing them. Like, I know what is it, Brookside, that's way out on the Dedham line. That's being taken care of. And there's one up on the River Road too, right after the railroad crossing. Isn't that one being taken care of too?
The Lamphor one is.
I was going to say, isn't that the Lamphor?
Yeah, and then the one across the road that has now got a clearing suitable from the road.
Is that the Lawrence?
Yes.
One across the road?
I'm not sure what the status of that is with the town, but I know that there has been an effort to clear some of the brush access to it. Again, it's private property, so I don't know how that works in that particular location, whereas the Lamphor's on the public highway there.
And so I don't know of any other ones that were taken care of. Oh, out on Route 46 too, there's one out there.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that. Is that by the East Bucksport Methodist Church?
No, it's back this way by the dog place where you take your dogs.
Thanks.
Yeah, there's a cemetery right there. I've seen the town crew out there mowing and weed whacking. So I'm thinking that could be, I wrote down all the addresses of all these. That could be, is that, I'm not sure if that's Eldridge. I don't have the map in front of me that would show.
Yeah, I'm trying to look for it here online too. I'm not sure I'm find it.
But some of these I've never even heard of and never even seen them. So,
Are they on private property, Kathy, or are they on town property?
I don't know. These were just a list of town-owned cemeteries, so I'm not sure if they're private or
My understanding is the Lawrence Cemetery is on private property along the river there. That's my understanding, but I may be wrong.
Yeah.
There are other cemeteries. There's there's been reports of other cemeteries. One of those other cemeteries reported was up the Upper Long Pond Road.
right.
Remember we went through, I think it was the Rod and Gun Club wanted to do
Yes, they wanted to use it as a shooting range.
Right. And there was a allegation that there was a cemetery out there, a discontinued cemetery. However, I'm not sure how that was resolved as to whether there was one or not. But
That never was resolved, and that's another one we have to look into. And I don't know, and also with town-owned cemeteries too, the only time we have to really take care of them is veterans were buried in there.
if it's an ancient burial ground, if it's prior to 17, I can't remember the year, 1785 or something like that. If it's earlier than that, and there are veterans in it, then the town is obligated to take care of them, whether they're on public property or private property. Now, if it's on public property and it's a cemetery, I think that there is a requirement for that as well. And when I say a requirement, it's mowing it twice a year is the
Right.
But all of these that you know the 17 you've listed, I'm not sure. I haven't seen that list, so I don't know where they all are, or what the condition
I haven't
or
been
if
to
it's
any.
public property or any of those things. All of that would make a difference. The Upper Long Pond one was raised again to Kathy because the town mows the field behind there because the town used to use it as a sludge site for spreading sludge, and now the town hasn't done that in many years, but we still contract with someone to mow that field, and White's Field is next to it because that was also a sludge spreading site. And the town doesn't pay for that. The person or entity that gets that contract keeps the hay from mulch hay only because it can't be used for animal feed, and trims trees around the edge and does that kind of thing. But that issue has been raised again since we were talking about having someone mow the fields. But it's my understanding from speaking with Kathy that at one point the town was going to do this same ground penetrating radar thing with that area to determine, because the Rod and Gun Club were involved in that thing. But when Kathy raised this with me the other day, it was the first I'd heard of it because this was before my time.
Yeah. Before.
Well, we don't even, so are you assuming that the fields that are being mowed definitely are the location of that alleged cemetery out there, or are you saying that you know for sure that that's where the cemetery would be? Because where I'm thinking is it's further down the road from that location going into the, you know, the trust has a property out there. So we have to go out there and monitor that as well. And my understanding, it was closer to that property than it was down. But again, what do I know? I'm just going by hearsay. But it may be a possibility that those fields that you're mowing may not even be the right location.
A local historian has indicated that he believes that area, which is part of that area, was where the Rod and Gun Club was going to have their shooting range, if I'm understanding this correctly.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
that would have impacted, but I don't have there's nothing on the ground that tells me that I can.
I understand. Okay, well, that's good news if that's the case, and if that is correct, or the allegations are correct, that much easier that we don't have to deal with woodlands. If we make a decision to try and understand what's going on out there. If it is a field, a lot easier than dealing with what we're dealing with the old Methodist, with the trees and other things that are going to be there. So if that decision, I think my comment in the past has been, I would really like to see us be the best cemetery town in Maine, whatever that means, rather than saying, well, we only have to do this, we only have to do that, to take and make an effort to really do the best we can to be proud of what we've done instead of being ashamed of what others have done, which seems to be the case right now, and to try and just squeak by. It's, I think, a better quality of life to live in a town that takes care of their cemeteries and makes sure that things are done right. So that's my politics right there, and I'll be quiet from this point on about that. So.
No, again, it's another cemetery. We'll have to do the penetrating to see if there is bodies and out there, and if we have veterans that we should, honor them by all means.
I guess that what we ought, you could have the 17 cemeteries or 16 cemeteries that are town-owned, and you of all people, Kathy, I would think would know where they were because you've lived here your whole life. But
Yeah.
if you don't, then we may be hard-pressed to find some of them.
Exactly. It has it numbers on the map, and it's just something to take the map and go looking, I guess, to
Well,
see if there's any evidence.
We do have resources in town to help you with that, right, Kathy?
Yeah.
That would help with that, because my number was either 19 or 21.
Well, there's a total of 21 cemeteries in town.
But you're going by
Okay.
the town that may be responsible.
But a lot of them are associations.
Yeah.
Like you have the Catholic Church and you have the Silver Lake Cemetery and the Riverview.
Yeah.
They are associations, so we don't have to worry about those.
Right.
That's where I come up with 21.
I got you. I'm sorry. I forgot you were
No.
just limiting it to, associations. I know, is Evergreen still a private association out there?
Yes.
And
Yeah, we've got the Oak Hill, the
Yeah.
town
Yeah.
has taken now.
Right.
But we have the Silver Lake, the Catholic, the Riverview, Evergreen, and Hillside
Hillside, okay.
as an association out by the church,
Church, yeah, that's the one.
on Church Road.
Right.
So I think it's a matter of taking all the cemeteries and taking a look at if they're on private property and where they're located, I think is a start. And
Inventory would be a good idea, which is, where are they? What condition are they? Are they on private or public property? If they're listed as town responsibility, generally that comes with some sort of land ownership or easements to maintain.
Right.
But I don't believe we're maintaining 17 cemeteries.
no. I mean, I know Hueytown is a cemetery it's in the woods, and that's out by Jim Morrison. And he said he would take me down and show me where it is, but you have to go across his property. So I don't know if there's another way in there other than they used to go down a roadway. There was a roadway. So I have to talk with Jim Morrison, and he'll have to show us.
And that's great. Now, the more information we get from Mr. Morrison or anybody else out there about the history of that, do we assume that there's a possibility of a veteran in there, or should we now assume that the current expert on that has already figured that there isn't anybody out there? I'm just trying to say, should we understand the inventory if possible?
I think we need to research and find out if veterans are buried in these cemeteries before we start the heavy research. So I will reach out to some people that would have some knowledge of cemeteries and where veterans might be buried, where we can find that. And I think that we need to go explore that once we find out.
Nice to have some photos and some GPS readings and things like that as well to establish that once and for all where these locations are. Because private property is going to make it a little difficult
Yes.
to deal with that, but I'm sure we can get through to that. And if it's a private cemetery, then we can at least identify it.
Right.
Hope for the best at that point.
Yeah, and right now, just because there's only so much time and only so much money, or many projects you can work on at a time, I'm in hopes that we can keep 917 River Road as
The top priority.
the first one.
Yeah.
I agree.
Since we're going to be putting out a contract for mowing on those fields, one of which we own and one of which we don't, I guess that getting more information on
that one.
that one would be a good thing. And then the third, and it isn't a lower priority, it's just, as I said, there's only so much time, is to, and I guess I'll call it an inventory, to create an inventory of these cemeteries and whether or not veterans are buried in them and where they're located, and if they've not been maintained at all and are invisible, then what do we do?
Right. Yeah, I agree. I think that's the best
I think
plan.
that's a wise choice, yeah. Just to make sure that everybody understands, there is the town records right now, in my understanding, are in that white three-ring binder in the vault. And I'm not sure of any other records that are out there for any of these cemeteries. Are you aware of any other records, Kathy?
No, the library has a copy of the same book.
Okay,
Um,
all right,
And they may have more information over at the library. I don't know.
okay.
Haven't researched that, but I can do some digging and finding out.
I had scanned some of that material on the Old Methodist Cemetery from that three-ring binder and scanned it into the records, which they're up there on a Google system. But I'd be willing, if it's relevant, to do the same with the rest of that binder over time. It's something I can't do this week or next week or who knows when.
Just
To get all that,
time.
and to upload all that stuff so the public can have access to this information, I think would really help everybody who's concerned about this to be able to see what we've done. That's why I've tried to keep this thing as complete and as current. And the town has been terrific in letting me to have access to some of this material right there in the building. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think that's good. That would be great.
All right.
So,
I just hope everyone understands this situation wasn't created in the last 15 minutes of the last 5 years, and that trying to get it to the state that I think we'd all like to have it is going to take more than a couple of minutes, and I appreciate all the listening public's patience as we work through trying to unsnarl snarls that have been in that condition for decades.
decades. Yeah.
So, guess that's all I need to say about that.
No, I totally agree. You know, it's a work in progress, that's for sure. And we're taking our time to make sure it's done right.
Thank you.
First time.
I agree.
So,
I agree.
I don't have any other information to.
Do we want to schedule a next meeting so that if the property is supposed to sell mid-September, maybe we could schedule a meeting for the beginning of October so
Yeah.
that we could, just lost Chris, I don't know where he went, but anyway, that we could, if we had scheduled a meeting for October, beginning of October, we could use the time in between to
Sorry about
assess, see where we go with this. You know, if I can get permission and Public Works can get in there and do that right afterwards, I might have some information for the meeting by the beginning of August if the property owners are amenable to.
You mean the beginning of October?
Yeah.
You said August, I'm going.
I know I was wrong. It's wrong.
That's all right. That's okay. Yeah, whatever's good.
Well, today is Tuesday, right?
Yes.
So the first Tuesday in October would be the 6th. Is that
That's great for me.
That's fine.
so why don't, I'm just suggesting that when you have a meeting that you set the next date so that we can get it out there and post it and
Yep,
Yeah.
I agree. I think it's
Yeah.
wrong.
you do.
What's a good time for everybody? It doesn't matter to me.
1
It doesn't-
o'clock?
Is
1
1 o'clock a
o'clock
good
sounds
time?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. October 6th at 1, we'll put it in for that.
And we'll see where 917 is, and if we have any additional information from the upper Long Pond, you were going to check for whether veterans are buried there or what we're doing with that. So
Okay. Yeah,
She
I'll
has,
have
she has access to that information. I don't have access to it, so I'm hoping that she'll able to get that resolved before then. So that's great. Terrific.
Okay.
all right.
Guess we can call the meeting to adjourn.
1:30 p.m. That's a good half hour.
October 6th.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
I'll get the minutes up as soon as I can.
Okay, and I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
And we're all in favor.
But I'll,
All right. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you for attending, and thank you, Sue, for taking the time.
okay, you're welcome. We'll see what we can do with this 917 just as soon as it closes.
Okay, sounds
Thank
good.
you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.